You're listening to IHC's podcast. Today's topic is Culture is Medicine. Hi, folks. Thank you for joining us for IHC's podcast. This segment is Culture is Medicine. My name is Marissa. My pronouns are she, her. My job title is Communications Coordinator. I'm from the Kenecito Band of Navajos, and I'm here today with Mikey.
Hello, my name is Michael Andrews. My pronouns are he, him, his. My title is the Prevention Services Supervisor in the Counseling Department. I'm enrolled with the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe, and I'm also Ojibwe, Kickapoo, and Sac Fox. I'm from Oakland, and I live in Alameda.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today, Mikey. So I've worked with you for a really long time, and it's just been fun. I don't ever ask any of my coworkers, like, what's your tribal affiliation, unless we get a chance to sit down and talk. So it's kind of cool to learn. Have you ever been to the Pyramid Lake Paiute Reservation?
Yeah, my mom lives there, and so I try to visit her at least once a month. Right now, it's been lots of snow, so we haven't made it this winter so far. But we go up there quite a bit.
Nice. I hear it's beautiful. I've seen videos. So.
Yeah, it is very beautiful. It's actually the lake itself. It's salt water, so it's not a freshwater lake. It's a saltwater lake. It's surrounded by mountains, so it's really nice out there.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous. Well, I'm glad you've gotten a chance to check it out. On my res in Ojibwe, New Mexico, it's just a lot of dirt, a lot of rocks, a lot of tumbleweeds. And some scorpions. But it's fun and scenic in its own way. So how long have you been with IHC?
Yeah, I think, so I got brought on as a contractor in 2009. I was helping out with the Powell Song and Dance class, so I was doing the drum portion. And then I believe in 2010 is like my official start date. I got brought on as a part-time employee. Which is helping out with the song and dance class, and then I was doing like data entry in my early years of IHC.
Yeah, we all have those stories. We're the OGs of Indian Health Center. So you've been here 2009. I've been here since 2014. So you got a couple more years on me. But hey, it's been a while. I mean, obviously, Indian Health Center is a good place to work because we've been here so long.
Yeah, you're coming up in your 10 years then, right?
Yeah, in November.
November? Oh, nice.
November 4th. Yeah. So you were saying that you're from Oakland. Mm-hmm. Awesome. What was it like for you growing up as an urban Indian?
I don't know. I guess that's an interesting question because I guess it was pretty normal. Oakland, the East Bay has like a real strong American Indian population, and so like my preschool and the after school program I went to up until high school was all native. So the preschool I went to is called Hintel, and I went there, from pre-K or nursery till kindergarten, and then I went to an elementary school. But then the elementary school I went to shared the same campus as Hintel. So after elementary school, we would go to Hintel, and then my middle school was the American Indian Charter School, and so it was nothing but Native kids. And then the apartment complex I grew up in had like at least at one time it had 3 Native families, including mine, and then my block had about 4 to 5 different Native families, and then those Native families too were generational. So my grandparents came out here on the Relocation Act in the late 50s, early 60s, and so those same families there have a similar story. So my dad knew my friend's parents, and their parents, they all our grandparents like hung out and used to party together back in the day,
That's awesome. Well, that's totally different than the way I grew up. My dad came here not through relocation. He born and raised, all over the place, but the last place he lived with his parents was Ojibwe, New Mexico. And then he was the little birdie who went to the Army and then came back and met my mom, and my mom was from Stockton. And so I grew up there, and I wasn't really in touch with the American Indian community over there. And it wasn't until I moved to San Jose and became a part of Indian Health Center and learned a little bit more about the American Indian community that I even learned that we had a Stockton community powwow.
Yeah, I was just there.
I'm from there, and I'm like, I never knew this existed. Yeah. How did I not know? But then through conversation that I've had with other urban Indian folks in Stockton and around the Bay Area, was more like the American Indian community. It's like very welcoming, but it's also kind of like in its own little community
Mm-hmm.
within like the broader sense. So if it's
Yeah.
really hard if you don't, or if you're not already a part of that community,
Yeah.
to kind of be aware of things. Now it's easier with social media, but that's really cool to hear that you grew up immersed in the culture,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just staying in it. And I'm all me. I'm like, I had to find my way. I had to move to a whole other city. But that sounds really cool. And like you were saying, your past generations, they all knew each other, and so
Mm-hmm.
while relocation itself was not a great thing, at least the community was able to still stay close.
Definitely.
Are they from similar tribes or?
No, all over. So like I have like we call each other cousins. They're from like Gila River down in Arizona by like Scottsdale, and then they're also Klamath. Just a bunch of different tribes. There's lots of different tribes. Actually, I rarely sometimes find people that are from my tribes, but sometimes when you do, it's always like I don't know how to describe it. It's always a cool feeling when you meet someone from your tribe, especially like when because I'm like Ojibwe, Kickapoo, and Sac Fox, and those are like tribes that are not really out here. Like
Mhm.
Paiute's pretty close, it's only like a 4 hour drive from the Bay Area. But like those tribes are from like Minnesota and Oklahoma.
Mhm.
And so like when you meet someone from those tribes, and those are very unique names too, you know what I mean? You're like, oh snaps, good to meet a relative or whatever.
Yeah, I like that. Is from going to various trainings in Oklahoma and like Minnesota. I've got a lot of Kickapoo, Sac and Fox friends,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Ojibwe, all the
Yeah.
different bands. More so like the Milak band
Yeah.
that I'm familiar with. But that's really cool. If you have you gotten a chance to travel out to Oklahoma or those other areas?
Yeah, so we go to Oklahoma once a year for like ceremonies and just visit family. I used to go to Minnesota quite a bit, but not as much as an adult. But my grandma still lives up there. Our family's from a small town called S Lake, which is in northern Minnesota, probably like I think it's like 80 miles from the Canadian border. It's like the middle of the woods, Like one time we were visiting, there was like we could hear wolves howling, and I'm from Oakland, so I never heard wolves howling before. I was like, what the heck? But yeah, we try to go visit home as often as we can.
It's good. Yeah, and especially as a little kid, if you've never heard a wolf howl at night, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
interesting. You're like, that's real.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's awesome, and that you get to go and visit, and that you're hoping to stay close to your roots and visit more often.
Mhm.
So other things about you is I hear that you're an award-winning traditional singer and drummer.
Oh yeah. So I started power singing when I was about like 9 years old. Um, my dad sings, and like my family on my Ojibwe side, they sing a lot. So it's kind of like a generational thing, but I never really gravitated towards it. And then the only way I got into singing was all my friends. They wanted to do it, and I had nobody to play with, so I decided to go try it out, and I ended up enjoying it. But I traveled around in my early adult years with different drum groups, and one drum group in particular, I kind of I guess got really famous for was with Young Spirit, and we recorded. I can't remember how many albums, but we recorded a lot of albums, and then those albums got nominated for like different like Native American Music Awards, things like that. Then we got nominated for a Grammy in 2017, I believe.
Mhm.
And then my singing even took me to outside of traditional Native American music. I got to be on a record with Lenny Kravitz, so I'm on not his latest album, but the album before that. One of my songs is on there, and then some classic Oakland folks, Tony. I don't know if you know who they are, but
Mhm.
yeah, I recorded a song with them too, and so um, yeah, that's always been a blessing, and always enjoy sharing music.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I'm all. I've grew up like here. I've spent like 10 years with Indian Health Center, and I've like grown up here in my early adult years. Just seeing you in community. I even ran into you before at. I think there was some kind of event going on at San Jose City College, and then I'm like, hey, that's my coworker.
Yeah, we get asked a lot to go sing in different places. Sometimes it's really cool. I think like that's one of the good benefits of learning to sing is like you get to it takes you places, I guess, where you don't even imagine you'll be at, because you just think like, I just want to learn to sing in powwow and things like that, and that's the only place you'll do it. But we sing at different universities, different events too throughout the Bay Area, and I think that's one benefit of being an urban singer or urban native out here and singing powwow is we get those opportunities that those that live on the res or in more rural places they don't get the access to it. And now here, it's kind of like right here. Like I recently did back in October an event for at Apple Park at the Steve Jobs Theater. They did a screening for Killers of the Flower Moon, and before it came out, like 2 or 3 weeks before the movie was actually released, I got to go over there and sing, and then meet actually the CEO of Apple, and then meet Martin Scorsese too, the director who created Goodfellas, and then that movie as well. So yeah, singing has took me all over the place.
That's wonderful to hear, and especially the young aspiring powwow dancers and singers and drummers, just to learn that your singing can go outside of your culture and it can take you to different events, venues, places that you might not have thought about when you initially got into singing and drumming. But what would you tell young you when you're learning how to dance and sing and drum? If you could speak to your younger self.
Oh, if I could speak to my younger self, oh man, that's a good question. I think just stay with it and travel more. I feel like sometimes I didn't. Maybe I was afraid to take that risk to go and travel, and I think I just would tell myself to just go ahead and do it and don't hold myself back because I guess overthinking sometimes can play a part, and these powwows are like super far away. There can be travel to Michigan, you're driving, we don't really fly. And so when I think of long trips, I'm always like, oh man, I want to drive 30 hours,
Oh yeah.
But then I think when I was younger, I should have just done it instead of kind of just saying, oh no, I'll make the next one and just sticking with what's in my comfortable bubble. I did travel a lot, but I just wish I traveled a little bit more.
Well, that's good. Not to say no to opportunities when they arise, and just go in the car for 30 hours. It'll be worth it.
Yeah. Enjoy that spirit experience because the 30-hour road trip, that's going to be a story, as you can tell. A lot of folks have lots of stories. Lots of singers they have funny stories and just traveling around with their friends and stuff like that. And I have a lot of stories too, but I just think I'd feel more. I won't say complete because I don't feel incomplete, but just feel more like I didn't miss out on a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. And for kids now getting into it and, just hoping they take that message to, don't limit yourself. And if you get invited to sing somewhere, go check it out. Who knows? You might, like you said, gain a story or, have some kind of good experience there.
Yeah.
And then because you grew up immersed in the culture, have you ever dealt with imposter syndrome as an American Indian?
No. Can you break that further down? What that really means?
So for myself, because I grew up urban, super urban. I go to the res, and my family calls me a city walker because I walk too fast for them on the res. They're slow down.
They
city
definitely
legs.
need to pick up the pace. So, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, when I get asked to speak at different events to talk about American Indian culture, more recently, I'm getting asked to speak for Two-Spirit specific events. For a little while, I was like, do I want to go to the speaking engagement? Do I want to talk? Do I have the authority to talk? I didn't grow up on the res, and I felt like, even though I am a part of a federally recognized tribe, and whether or not I was, or whether or not my tribe was recognized, similar to the Mwakma Ohlone folks, I didn't feel like I had a place at all in any type of native setting. And I didn't feel that I was quote unquote native enough. I didn't feel that I was quote unquote Two-Spirit enough. And so a lot of folks that are indigenous, especially in the Bay Area, they deal with that. And did you ever have a moment where you felt that way?
Fortunately, I have not. Yeah, it's just because my mom and dad, they instilled that pride into me, and then their parents as well. and it's just like who we are, you know. That's all I guess I knew how to be or know how to be. And so, I mean, I don't like public speaking. You know, if you ask me to public speak, I'll say no right away because I'm not a big fan of it. I can do it, but I feel I don't. It's not like where I'm most comfortable at. Um, but yeah, fortunately, I haven't ever really felt like that, and I haven't ever wasn't ever made felt like that either. You know, I know sometimes you can. There is a little bit of, I guess, tension between res and urban, and sometimes res folks look at urban folks as like, I'll say like goody two shoes or like we don't know anything, something like stuff like that, which is not true. We both have the same experience. We both experienced like lots of poverty, and we eat a lot of the same foods, and so I think no matter where you're from, if you're like native and you're native, it doesn't matter if you're on the res or not. I think there's just a thing of humbleness though. If you didn't grow up with the culture, and I think, um, and maybe there is someone who can better speak on an issue or whatever, and then you just kind of you have to check yourself and like maybe you get the opportunity to be like, oh, thank you, I appreciate this opportunity for providing a native voice, but I think this person would be so much more better and qualified to speak on it because I have a little bit of experience, but they have a lot of experience. So I think just like just being humble and acknowledging, um, it's okay that we don't know things. And I mean, like I said, I grew up with my both parents, and they both had strong Native identities, but I don't know everything. And sometimes maybe someone from the res does have a better experience on speaking on different issues, and I'll just pass it to them.
Yeah. Well, I am happy that you were never made to feel less than because of being born an urban Indian. And I feel like even that distinction between res and urban is just ridiculous. We're all on native land,
Hmm.
the whole U.S., all the Americas. So that's a separate conversation. But I'm just glad that your experience was not that of other urban Indian folks because, again, that sense of not belonging
Hmm.
is always at the forefront of some American Indian folks' minds who were born in cities not on the res or maybe felt like they lost some cultural ties.
Hmm.
And I just felt this disconnect recently with my younger sister. We were talking, and my brother got a Pendleton when he graduated his high school,
Hmm.
and his ceremony was done in full Navajo. It was beautiful. It was the first time I've ever heard the Pledge of Allegiance sung in Navajo, and
Hmm.
I cried. I was like, "This is beautiful." We just felt like we are here. We're Navajo, and
Yeah.
woohoo! And they're graduating. Indigenous excellence, all that fun stuff. But the other part is, and my brother got the Pendleton, and then when he came home, he was just like, I don't know what to do with this blanket. And I was
Hmm.
like, Ryan, what? He didn't know the significance. And
Yeah.
so me and my sister and my brother had that conversation that it symbolizes like a gift from the community to him, and that it's a sign of achievement.
Hmm.
It's kind of like receiving an award, but the
Hmm.
Pendleton. And my little sister also had the same disconnect, and I'm like, you live on the res.
Hmm.
Like, what's happening here? But again, there's even while being on the res, they still feel that little bit of disconnect because they don't know too many folks on the res,
Yeah.
and not everybody, can hang out with the community all the time, and they have to go to school, jobs, and all that other things. And I just feel blessed being with IHC and learning more as we continue to like attend events and listen to other folks speak, and like even you sharing your experience. For my sister and my brother back home, do you know a little bit about Pendletons and like why they're significant?
Yeah. I mean, I think my understanding of like why receiving the blankets, it's a high honor. Like if the president came here, we would give them the blanket. Pendletons, Pendletons, I think, and this is, I believe, eighth generation. But Pendletons have always been a big part because they're not cheap, and so you're cashing out like $300 to $400 on this blanket for this person to achieve whatever they achieved. Um, and I believe it kind of goes back into like those older times when things of warmth were played a huge significant part of being alive. And it can go back to even like robes or the furs that we would gift, like, Plains tribes use buffalo robes. Some tribes use like otter skins and things like that. And so being gifted something like that is just kind of like, um, my understanding is just one of the highest forms of appreciation that you can get. And they make great wall decorations. And then Pendleton's not the most comfortable thing to sleep in,
Mhm.
but they are warm. So if you go camping, what I like to do is I like to put a Pendleton down on the ground to separate. So you can always use it for that. And I think just the whole acknowledgement, and being recognized for your doings is always a huge part, and you should be very proud of that. But yeah, just the Pendleton itself, and the star blankets, the 8th generation blankets, just it's just one of the highest things you can receive as for one of your achievements.
I'm all fun fact. This one here was gifted to me from Elena Dutra at San Jose City College for transferring from SJCC to San Jose State
Oh,
University.
nice.
So thank you very much, Elena.
Yeah, shout out Elena.
So since you grew up super close to your Indigenous roots, was there a time that you felt that you grew closer to Indigenous roots, either by being a part of this agency or just getting into song and dance?
I think a time that I felt like I was closer to it was when I had kids, and having my kids be within community. I think it's because I had to actively do it. Instead of like I could work in the community and then just go home and just be like a regular 9 to 5, and there's community events and I could be like, oh man, that's my job. But instead, like it takes a lot, like I want my kids to be a part of the community as well. So I get them, even though I clock out and I go to a community event to make sure they're a part of it. And I think that brought me a lot closer because then I can really be proud of what my parents did. What they did for me, and how they made sure I was connected to my community and connected to my culture. It's not easy, especially like living out here because we do have to work jobs. You and I are fortunate enough to work at a community based agency, but some folks, they do construction, they work at a bank or work at the county services, and they're not really connected that way. And so then after work, they have to drive to come to our power and song and dance class on Tuesdays, or they have to take their youth to our youth empowerment program. But sometimes it can be tiring. They got to battle traffic, and as a parent, sometimes I just want to get home and want to relax. But yeah, to answer your question, that was a very long answer. But to answer your question, yes, I think it was having my kids and having them be active community members.
Yeah, and then I know that's true because I have ran into you at Stockton Powwow, the Stockton Community Powwow. I think that was maybe last year or the year before.
Yeah.
And I was just there because I was like, I'm from here, and I never knew this existed. And the whole reason I ended up going there was because I was sharing my experience and my frustration about not knowing about that community. When I was in high school, I went to Bear Creek High School, and that's like away from like the Powell, like from UOP. It's like not very close at all. So that's also probably why I didn't know about it. But I was just saying, like at my high school, I was made to feel like the only one, and they would call me like the token Indian.
Yeah.
And then they would make fun and be like, "Oh, you're not extinct," and I'm just like, that's triggering. But okay, I was like, no, I was like, they thought they got us all, but they just buried the seeds. So I actually got to go, and I ran into you there, and I was like, hey, I know that guy.
Yeah, I was at a Stockton Powell like 2 weeks ago, 2 Saturdays ago. I was at Edison High School. So Stockton usually has 2 powwows a year. Their benefit powwow, which takes place in February, right before Valentine's Day, and then their Labor Day powwow, which is usually at
UOP?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. University of Pacific, for those of you who are not up on the Stockton lingo, that's also known as UOP. But that's awesome. I think the UOP one is the one I caught and not the Edison High School one. Yeah. But it's fun. I went there for the art and the fry bread.
The fry bread, yeah.
Yeah. What does powwow season normally look like for you?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So how I usually my goal is to make one powwow a month. So local, I go to also local ones here because we
Mhm.
have quite a few here around here. So I go to usually all of those, but far away powwow when I sing with I guess those bigger drum groups. I try to go to at least once a month. Powwows usually just take place in the summertime, but now it's almost like a year-round thing. Like this past weekend, there was the Bates powwow, but then there was also a big contest powwow in Seminole, Florida, in Hollywood, Florida, and like for that, I would have to fly out there, things like that. So what I my last I guess big contest powwow I went to was Pachanga powwow. It took place in the beginning of January. So yeah, I just kind of map it out that way and just manage it with my work. And so I save up on my PTO, and then I request it. And, do go through that process, and just plan out the powwow. And just like that's when we're gonna go to. Either we most likely drive there, and then um, yeah. So my powwow travels are not that much, to be honest. Because
Mhm.
I work full time. Um, and so that's the part where when I was mentioning about, well, if I could tell my younger self, because I wasn't working at the time, I had all this free time and I have kids at the time. I wish I would have traveled more and took advantage of that, because now that I'm working full time, it's a bit of a challenge. It's not a barrier, but it's just a bit of a challenge because um, being busy and then trying to go pow on the weekend.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least you're still trying, and I mean, that one that you're talking about, uh, the one in Florida, sounds like fun.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've never been. I was supposed to go like 2 years ago, but then my flight got canceled, so I missed it.
Are there any resources that you would recommend for folks to learn a little bit more about powwows, or just getting closer to their indigenous roots within their community?
Yeah, it kind of depends like where you are geographically in the Bay Area, but San Francisco, there are different organizations there that you can go to, such as like American Indian Cultural Center, the Native American Health Center. Those are two good ones that do a lot of community events. Um, in the East Bay, there's Intertribal Friendship House. That's like the mecca of Oakland community is the Intertribal Friendship House. They do a lot of the community events. And there's the Native American Health Center too in Oakland as well. And there's the American Indian Child Resource Center in Oakland as well. And they have a youth program too. They do more like after school studies, after school programming. And then, down here in the South Bay, it's the Indian Health Center, Santa Clara Valley. Um, I think those are just good organizations. You can go on their websites and find out things about it. But if you follow them on their social media pages, you'll get a lot of the flyers, a lot of the events, upcoming events. So I would just recommend those organizations to look at, because those organizations are the main ones that do all the community events throughout the Bay Area. And so if you want to be in the loop, I would just follow them on Instagram or something like that.
Yeah. Especially for IHC, I'm the one who updates our social media and our event page. So if you either check out indianhealthcenter.org, check out our event page, you'll be able to be up to date on any of the happenings in the South Bay area. We've also been sharing upcoming powwows if we get their flyer in time. But otherwise, yes, checking out Native American Health Center, and for folks in Sacramento, SNAC, the Sacramento Native American Health Center. And
Mm-hmm.
then you were saying the International Friendship House and
Intertribal.
Intertribal
Intertribal, yeah.
Friendship House. Ooh, sorry. And then there was one more that I'm forgetting. There's like American Indian something something.
Oh, American Indian Child Resource Center.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. And then for other folks here in San Jose, there's the TANF, the Washoe TANF
Mm-hmm.
Center as well. And that's more specifically if you're part of like Washoe Tribe, but they do offer a bunch of resources.
Yeah, they're more like I believe they're like more like help with like CalWorks and like monthly grant assistance and things like that.
So here at IHC, we believe that culture is medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So what does culture is medicine mean to you?
I think for me it means it's who we are. You know, the colonizers when they came, they tried to take away culture because it is our culture is our healing. It is our mental health. Is our physical health. Is our overall well being. without it, we face a lot of disparities throughout colonization. Um, but going back to culture, and a lot of people, we have a lot of native chefs that are now emerging throughout the country, and they're bringing back a lot of our traditional foods. A lot of folks don't know this, but I believe it's like 80% of the world's foods come from America. So, like chilies, like peppers and jalapenos and things like that. The world wouldn't have that if they didn't get it from the Americas. Corn, potatoes, tomatoes, even like the Italian cuisine wouldn't be the Italian cuisine what it is today without tomatoes that came from here. And so just reintroducing our communities to those natural foods, that's medicine. Those berries, the blueberries, strawberries, all that's good for your heart. um, and our teas too, our wild plant teas, they all play a huge part in our well-being. And then the more cultural side of it, our singing, our dancing helps. For me, singing is a huge part of my mental health. When we went to the pandemic and I wasn't able to sing um, as much as I wanted to, it kind of did play a huge effect on me. So to singing, and then the drum itself, it's medicine. It physically changes your heartbeat when someone drums. So if you were to have a drum and you were drumming with it, our heartbeats would go in sync with that drum beat. And then dancing. It doesn't have to be powwow dancing. It could just be your culture, your tribal dancing, your tribal songs as well. That's a physical movement, and so you do Zumba, right? And it's a rather physical, high physical workout. But so is when you dance powwow and you dance like men's fancy, women's fancy, even women's traditional, men's traditional, like things like that. Those dances, it takes a lot of work and a lot of physical ability to dance those songs. So um, our culture is medicine.
All right, folks. So make sure that you guys keep an eye out. We got our Mexica New Year coming up March 15th through 17th here in San Jose at Emma-Prush Park. And if you want a little bit more information about that one, you can check out www.aztecadancers.com. You can go ahead and click the link up there for it. And then are there any other events that Prevention Services has coming up?
Yeah, we have our ongoing programs, our powwow song and dance class Tuesdays, 6 to 7:30, Roosevelt Center. Our San Jose Native Youth Empowerment Program, which is monthly. Look out for the flyer on our social media pages. That's the way you can get connected and sign up for our youth program. And then we also, in March, we should be having our traditional path to wellness workshops. And then we have, right now, this coming week, we're doing our archery program.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we plan to do another one during that springtime as well, to do an archery program, which is really cool. We get some folks to learn more about archery and practice.
As long as you don't hurt your arm. My goodness, I slapped myself with the
string.
Yeah. But get those arm protectors, y'all. I have a scar on my arm, so like that skin's real sensitive.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure I wear my arm guard. I am clumsy, folks. But yeah, make sure you check out our social media. So Indian Health Center's page is at IHC San Jose on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or X as they call it now, even TikTok, whenever that gets active. And then we also have the IHC Youth Media team. So you can check them out as well on Facebook. It's IHC Youth Media. And then the other one on Instagram, I believe, is youthmedia_IHC. Thank you.